Welcome back to the Pixelists Podcast. In 2025, it's a new year, y'all. But as always, we are the podcast about all the nerdy things we love and enjoy. And today, we're going to be talking about some Critical Role. I forgot to introduce us. I'm Will. That's Blake. And, wouldn't be a Pixelists Podcast, especially not a brand new one, without an awkward intro. So I'm glad we could get that out of the way.
I appreciate you keeping us on brand for
You know, I didn't want
2025.
Yeah, I didn't want anybody to be like, "Oh, new year, they're going a new direction with like
What? I mean,
professionalism and."
yeah, think about how strange it would have been if we had our first 2025 video, it kicks on and we're in professional lighting,
Yeah,
professional
like
cameras.
wearing suits and stuff.
Yeah, tuxedos, you know.
Yeah.
Like, is this a bit?
No,
Just
new
every
us.
video is tuxedos. So,
But
anyway.
yes, it is a new year. It does. I just ruined this, but I botched it completely. But I was gonna say it feels like forever since I've seen you, like a year. But anyways, it does. Corny New Year's joke aside, it feels like it's been a minute because we had
Yeah,
the holiday break for both Critical Role and Worlds Beyond. So has it been like
been a
has it
couple
been like a
weeks.
month? No.
Oh, has it
I
been a
guess
month?
not. I guess not. Has it even been that long? Am I just
Let's
completely
see.
losing it?
Dude, we talked last week. No, let's see here. One, two. I think it's been about 3 weeks. I
Yeah.
mean, considering we talk every week,
Yeah.
I think it's a bit understandable that, yeah, 3 weeks, that's almost a
Yeah.
month.
It's,
Yeah.
it's been a minute. So
Yeah.
it feels good to be back and we'll launch into Critical Role soon enough, but new year, been a long break, and compounded by the fact that we're nearing the end of this campaign. It just feels like a lot of like kind of
It's a weird yeah, it's a weird mixture of, like, the ending of things and the starting of things.
yeah. Yeah.
Which are you a New Year's resolution guy?
Not really.
Yeah, I'm not either. But
You
though I
know.
went to a party on New Year's Eve where everyone was. Like, I'm
Really?
talking like not I'm embellishing. Not everyone was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, everybody, we're a big," it wasn't anything like that. But as I was
He's
making
not
like
one. Get him out.
yeah. As I was making small talk, I guess that's just my question is like, "Hey, so you a New Year's Eve guy?" And everyone was like, "Oh yeah, for sure." And I was like, "Oh." Well, then what do you say to that when you're not? You're just like, "Oh, yeah. All right. I
Yeah.
can't really relate." I
I
think I
don't
just
go. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think I've just kinda, like, embraced I just kinda know who I am in the sense of, well, I guess to be fair, there are things I wanna change, like, we've talked before we hit record about losing weight and, stuff like that, so there's things I wanna do. I'm just not a
Yeah.
big, like, "It's New Year's Eve, let's change it all."
Right.
So, I don't know.
No, I'm the same way. Like that day doesn't hold any particular significance for me because like I too know myself and like I can't just I can't make a goal like just on a certain day because like it's a new year, let's do it. Like I have to be extremely motivated to like
Yeah.
to do something like that. But I'll reach those points at various points, but it's never like on New Year's Eve,
Yeah,
if that
right.
makes sense.
But
Um,
on the same token, like, I am, like the new year, I do get optimistic about, like,
yeah.
yeah, I hope things are different from last year,
Yeah.
and, which just kinda sounds depressing, I guess, like, I hope this year's
No, I know
nothing
what
like
you
last
mean.
year, but, I got a lot
Yeah.
of good things to look forward to. I got a baby on the way
Yeah.
that's due in June.
Had
Um,
we told the podcast that yet?
I have a baby on the way that's due in June.
We might have, I don't remember.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
number 3, which I love being a dad, so I'm really excited about that. Business-wise, I got some good things going with the business, but I don't actually get the revenue from those things until the very end of the year.
to
So
the
it's a
end
nice
of
little
2025?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So I've made some good deals, but I
Yeah.
don't for you guys who are in the business world, you kinda understand, like, the difference between, like, when you invoice something, when you actually get paid for it.
Yeah.
But, as if that's, like, a complicated I think anyone would get that actually. But good so, like, mid to end of year, there's definitely, like, a lot of, like, good things on the horizon, but
Yeah.
definitely, like, starting the year, I'm apprehensive but optimistic.
Yeah. That
Not that
that
we not that you asked, "Hey, what's your philosophy on the start
No,
of
no, no.
2025?"
That's what we're talking about. No, I think I'm kinda the same way. Like, I, and I feel like I'm about to like be super counterintuitive to what we were just saying about resolutions, but I wouldn't call this a resolution, but like I'll think of like, okay, here's some things that maybe I would like to accomplish this year, which I guess maybe I'm splitting hairs.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, but like, and it's kind of like a apprehensive optimism or like a cautious kind of,
Yeah.
you know,
I
but
guess I guess I just try to take off like the emotional like shame and guilt. Like I guess now we're getting like really into it. Like I notice people get like really emotionally tied to New Year's, and when it doesn't happen, there's like
yeah.
they're crestfallen about it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just like bypass all of that and just kind of live in my shame day to
Yeah.
day anyway. So you know,
You merely adopted the shame.
yeah.
No, I get it.
So yeah. But having said that,
But yeah. Anyways, happy New
anywho,
Year's, y'all. I hope you guys had a fantastic 2024 and have a great 2025. And kind of segueing into the Critical Role stuff, it's crazy that we are now, I think, officially into our third calendar year at the very least of talking about this campaign, right?
that's right. Yeah, that's
So
right.
crazy. Like
Hmm.
we've talked about this before, so I won't just be a broken record, but it simultaneously feels like we just started the Pixelist podcast and
Yeah.
also that we've been doing it like for 3 decades. So it's
3
weird.
oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I get the joke, I get it now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's weird that this campaign is about to end. Like,
Yeah.
and we were just talking right before we hit it's Thursday, the day we're recording this. So there is episode 118 comes out tonight. And Blake had just mentioned, do you think it's the last episode? And I don't, only because Critical Role hasn't said anything, but like it certainly could be, like given
Yeah.
where we left off in the story. But I would imagine they would put out like some sort of announcement saying that like tonight's the night, like 7 hour runtime, because Campaign Tune's finale was super long. But yeah, I mean, I imagine we're two or three left, I would guess, max. Feels like.
Yeah. I'm in the yeah. I will know for sure tonight, I think. If it's 2 or 3. I don't think it's over tonight, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think which I was supposed to watch a movie with Joy tonight, and then I was like, "Ooh, I don't think I can miss one of the last episodes." So
What movie?
we like this random New Year's, tradition thing.
Yeah.
We really like the movie About Time, and we
Mm.
watch it. We try to watch it every year around the new year.
Oh,
So speaking of, traditions, I guess that is something we do.
that's a great movie.
Yeah,
I think.
and same guy from Star Wars, General Hux, who
Yeah,
I
yeah,
never put,
yeah,
I never put together.
yeah,
Hated him in Star Wars. Love him in this movie.
yeah.
He's
He's
also
a
in a
good.
lot of other stuff.
What's his name? Do you remember?
I don't know, but he's an awesome actor.
Yeah,
I
he
love
is.
this dude.
It's on the tip of my tongue. He's also in. Is he called Ex Machina? Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it.
That's good.
Um,
You should.
Domhnall Gleeson.
Yeah, you
So
should check it
anyway,
out. But yeah, About Time, great movie. Really love the time travel.
yeah, they
It's
do
like
they do
the
it a good way.
system. Yeah,
And his dad, I love that actor too.
yeah.
Bill Knightley. I
I know
can't
who you're talking about, but I don't know his name,
remember.
unfortunately.
Yeah. You may know the main actor from his role in Peter Rabbit. So apparently he's in that too. But anyway, so we typically what happens is, not to get super long-winded, we typically get a new board game. I don't ever really eat beef anymore because my wife's vegan. I typically get a ribeye steak, and we typically watch About Time, and then
Mm,
we'll play the board game. I did not buy a ribeye steak because beef's just crazy expensive.
yeah.
I did get a board game though.
What'd you get?
I got War of the Ring, which is a
Mm,
Lord of the Rings game, and I've heard good things about it.
you have to let me know how that is.
Yeah. So
But no, I love a
anyhow,
good like movie tradition like that.
yeah.
Fantastic movie. Highly recommend. But
Well,
yeah.
I was just say I guess we should get to what we came here to do, right?
Yeah, I was just going to very quickly run through the usual announcements. Basically, just join the Discord. Watch party for Critical Role tonight. Maybe one of the last few ever for campaign 3. So would love to have you join us for that. Worlds Beyond Number, we were just talking about this right before we started. We don't think that's coming back just yet, but we still need to do our episode on the previous episode. So that might be coming this week, maybe next week. Definitely before the next episode, whenever that is. And then Games Done Quick is starting this weekend, which if you're a longtime listener, watcher of us, you'll know that is a event Blake and I look forward to every year. I'll keep this short. We have a couple videos on the channel for anybody that's like, well, wait, what is that? Just search, Pixelist Games Done Quick. But it's essentially a speedrunning marathon that runs 24/7 for an entire week, and it raises money for charity. It's a great event. So we're really excited for that starting on Sunday. And I think usually I don't know if we have a Discord channel, but like we'll be talking about that throughout the week in the Discord for anybody else that, their nerddom aligns with that. But other than that, I think that's all I got, unless you got any other typical announcements.
I'm just excited for GDQ, man.
Yeah.
One of my favorite traditions.
Me too, brother. I haven't looked at the schedule yet, but I'll probably start peeping the first day here pretty soon.
Out of context, that might sound a little weird. So just be careful how you say that.
Yeah. Phrasing. But anyways, without further ado, let's actually get to talking about Critical Role today. And as always, we're going to recap the episode first. We cut that out, host it separately on YouTube for your catching up convenience. So if you find yourself just on the recap and you want to hear our full thoughts on the episode, that will be linked down in the description. But without further ado, this is episode 117 of Campaign 3, Race to the Ruidian Core. So we pick up back with Bell's Hells after our short stint with Vox Machina and Mighty Nine. We're back with our main crew here. And as a refresher, basically what had just happened was Imogen just had this vision, this dream of her mother getting absorbed by Ludinus in his new harness that he has. So Imogen basically tells everyone else that that's what she just saw and that they need to get moving. And just as a refresher as well, the whole lot of them basically are under disguise right now from a seeming spell that Caleb had cast on them to help them all kind of like progress through the city undiscovered. So they are heading toward the core of Ruidus, towards this big pillar, towards the center where, Predathos presumably is. And Matt lets them know that they're on a timer, basically. And this timer revolves around Liliana's fate. If they can get there quick enough, they might be able to do something to help her. If not, Ludinus is going to completely absorb her, right? So throughout this entire first half, Matt, I think, is marking tally marks on like two categories. Like one thing is like, oh, you've lost time. One is you're making good time situation. So they've got that pressure happening. So they basically travel, are able to keep this disguise up, no issues. And they eventually reach this area where there's this big crater kind of leading down towards the core. And so that's clearly where they need to go. But there are lots of guards around and they're trying to decide, okay, should we just kind of press forward and, hopefully these disguises hold up? Or should we wait for the Mighty Nine's distraction to begin? Because obviously when they attack the Weave Mine, things are going to pop off. And so they ultimately decide, time is of the essence. So they're going to have Fern pose as their prisoner and pretend to be escorting her down. And so as they kind of start to do this, one of these thought eaters that's around here approaches them and is like, who are you guys? What are you doing? And Imogen's like, this was an escaped Ruidus born. We're taking her back down. And she actually hits a nat 20 deception on this. So the way Matt kind of plays into this is right then there's this massive explosion and the Mighty Nine has essentially begun their assault. So a bunch of the guards that were in this area kind of swarm towards that, and Bell's Hells are permitted to continue. They're like, okay, yeah, we got bigger fish to fry, escort the prisoner. So they make their way down, and as they're going, there's a few kind of interesting quote unquote encounters they have. One is they run into some of these Abaddon creatures that are sniffing around, but between good stealth checks and literally pushing some of these creatures off into the void, they're able to kind of make short work encounter. But as they're going, they see lots of like offshoot caverns like going into the planet. And in one of them, they see a bunch of like eyes peering at them. And all of these mycete creatures start coming out, the little like mushroom type people. And they're friendly for the most part. Orem kind of insight checks them and gives them some fruit. And they realize that like there are tons of these mycete tunnels all throughout this cavern, and they might actually be a quicker and more stealth way for Bell's Hells to get to the core. Um, so because of that, well, actually, also Ashton in this moment thinks, okay, wait, this might be a good place to plant the All Minds Burn seed as well. So at this point, they're like, okay, maybe we can use these tunnels. So Imogen puts an image of Predathos into one of the mycete's minds. And as soon as she does that, they basically like all swarm her and begin like leading her down a specific tunnel. And so Bell's Hells just start to follow. And she goes down into one, basically dragged by these mycete, and it's like a long slide. And she slides all the way down, really long, and eventually ends in this chamber that's like kind of soft and mossy and has like these tendrily membranes all around it. It seems to be like a mycete kind of hive sort of situation, is at least how I understood it. The rest of Bell's Hells follow down as well. And Ashton thinks, okay, this might be the best place for the All Minds Burn seed. So he kind of finds a place for it with some like damp, moist water or something, I believe. And the tendrils, the membrane tendrils of this area, like immediately surround this seed and like are inspecting it. And once this happens, the chamber they find themselves in has a few tunnels exiting it, but these membranes also close off all the tunnels. So they're like locked in this room as this thing is inspecting the seed. So Fern kind of being like, let me cast Speak with Plants and see if I can figure out what's going on here. So she does that and begins speaking to this fungus. And essentially it's like, why have you placed this seed here? And Fern says, oh, it's from a lonely friend that wanted to explore. And Fern hits a nat 20 on her persuasion in this moment. So the fungus basically embraces the seed and it starts to like sprout, and all of the caverns are unblocked. And it's like, saying, okay, well, thanks, you guys can leave. So then all of the little mycete creatures then continue to push Imogen down a specific corridor, presumably leading her toward Predathos, and they reach another slide. And this slide is a bit more treacherous with some skill checks involved. And at one of the skill checks, the people that fail end up going like down a different slide path than everyone that succeeds. So at the end of the slide, the group is split up. And we've got Imogen, Breas, and Fern that failed, and they're kind of higher up and away from the rest of the party, and everyone else is closer to the central pillar. But it's not really a big deal. Imogen casts Fly on herself. Fern shapeshifts and carries Breas over, and everybody regroups. Then, still just making use of their flight, they continue to travel quickly and get everyone even closer to the prime pillar. And they're able to do this thanks to Breas leading them because of, I think it's like I want to say Tauren. That's not what they're called.
Sure.
Minotaur, yeah. Thanks to one of his Minotaur feats, I think it's called like Labyrinthine Expertise or something. He's able to like always find true north or something. So they're able to successfully navigate there. And ultimately, Chetney uses Arcane Eye to scout ahead as they like are finding themselves in this central chamber. And with that eye, he can see the chamber with Ludinus siphoning Liliana and all of these other Ruidusborns surrounding him. And so Bell's Hells are like, all right, this is it. It's time to make our final preparations, our final like pre-casting spells. And then we're going to rush in there. And that's where we go to break on the first half.
Great job. So the second half is combat, essentially against Ludinus, who they realize is holding Liliana to complete this ritual with his harness 2.0 that's part of his body. There's a number of exaltants and not just Viridians, but Ray Laura that are around the room, and some of them are helping to create this protective bubble that is basically around Ludinus and Imogen's mom. They know that based on the check marks that Matt was doing, that they have till the end of the third round to stop Ludinus. Ludinus is taking his turn at the end of each round, and basically they know they need to stop these casters who are holding their concentration spell so they can finally get to Ludinus. What we typically do in combat is we just stick to the high notes. There's some cool flavor of Aurum riding on the back of Coriolis, the equine dragon, the horse dragon of Robbie. There is some really great body horror from Ladna as she like unhinges her jaw, and we also get the void puppet spell at last, and then we also get her Hound of Ill Omen, which she's always so great at describing that. The enemies in the room do a number of things. One of them is going to try to charm Breus and Aurum. And although is successful with Aurum, Aurum does his indomitable feat to essentially roll again and is successful against it. Breus, however, is eventually charmed by this one specific bad guy. There's also some funny flavor of as Breus is like slicing and dicing against other bad guys that he's like flirting with Aurum, like kind of, spraying blood across the room and being like, check me out. So some fun, like above the table play happening there. We also have a huge, basically storm, like red storm tornado that gets created by Imogen that sucks up a couple of the Ruidians that are trying to keep the bubble up. And something that surprises the group is them realizing that these people can share concentration. So when one person drops their concentration, someone else can use their reaction to pick up that person's concentration. So they realize that just breaking concentration is not going to work. They actually have to kill and defeat these bad guys, which they're ultimately able to do. There's some really cool, how do you want to do this? We have a disintegration ray from Ladna that she does that, and then she does a sorcery point for empowered spell to reroll a bunch of ones. I think it was like ones and twos maybe, but it's like an 80-point damage blast that kills one of the guards. We have Chetney who willingly jumps into this tornado that Imogen has created to try to like slice and dice at the two that are inside of it. Ludinus is also like keyed in on Imogen, and we realize Ludinus has successfully absorbed what's her name? I'm blanking all of a sudden.
Liliana.
Her mom, Liliana, has successfully absorbed her powers, and one of them is a homebrew spell that basically, when it is successful against Imogen, which Imogen has to do an intelligence saving throw and fails, she is stunned until the next turn. And we have some really cool reactions there of Robbie sort of like coming and doing cure wounds on her and just telling her, keep going, don't give up. All this to say, they do eventually defeat all of the guards that are protecting Ludinus. Ludinus seems totally indifferent to all this. He's pretty much just like, I think there's a moment where Imogen's like, you're going to die down here. And he's like, yeah, I know. Like, I'm totally accepted that. But not before I complete my mission. But the coolest moment probably comes at the very end where Robbie casts Force Cage, and Ludinus had already used his reaction, so he couldn't counterspell it. And basically, Ludinus is immediately put in this box, essentially, this magical spell of a box, and is the connection with Liliana is severed. And Imogen does telekinesis and brings her over and realizes that she is, though alive, all of her power is gone from her. And Matt above the board mentions that, hey, if it's anything like the other harness, you know that it's a 24-hour duration. Even though he didn't fully consume her, he has absorbed her powers for 24 hours. Ludinus then, looking out from this transparent box, is basically like, hey, it seems like we have some time to chat because the spell lasts for an hour. Let's talk a little bit. And that's where our episode ends, episode 117, Race to the Viridian Core.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
If you're checking just the recap, click the link for the full episode discussion, and let's get into it.
Well done, man. Um, man, yeah. What a cool. I'm just jumping straight to the end. I kind of love the fact one the MVP move from Robbie Damon, just in general, but I love that we kind of get some yap time now. Like perfect
Right.
excuse to just let Ludinus monologue and maybe get not I don't want to say answers like as if there are all these pressing questions, but I'm fascinated to hear like maybe just everything that's going to happen here because we know that Belzhel still has to make this decision ultimately. So I love the setup for what we're about to get next. Assuming, I mean, who knows? Maybe he immediately breaks out and there's no conversation to be had. But um, I'm here
Robbie
for
said
it.
that. Yeah, Robbie said that he could just it's just like a saving throw, I think, for him to break out on his turn.
Yeah,
Which I'm assuming he's fully capable of, legendary resistances, for
yeah,
example. But yeah, I like it too. I was actually I was kind of indifferent to the combat until like that last 20 minutes where I was like, oh man, this is getting really intriguing.
yeah,
And yeah, gonna have sort of like a presumably final chat with the big bad. And I'm kind of curious if the final fight will be Ludinus or Predathos or some kind of hybrid or
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
loving this. I'm loving Ludinus though, just as a villain.
Me too. Me too. We've long talked about the different possibilities and potential here, and I love at least. I mean, we could still have a final kind of weird turn, but the fact that he's like, I know I'm gonna die here. Like he truly is seeming authentic to his mission statement, which is just I'm trying to get rid of the gods. This isn't me trying to become Predathos or take over the power vacuum because he's not. I mean, we don't know that he will die, but I believed him at his word when he says, "I know I'm going to die here." So yeah, I love that. I think that's such a cool villain.
Yeah, I love how Matt responded with that line of just like, yeah, I will, because we know the backstory of Ludinus is he has extended his life by hundreds of years to now finally get to the moment where he can. It's very Thanos esque of
Yeah,
just like, yeah, I'll, once everything's set, once you've done all this, what will you do? And he's like, I'll go retire on a farm.
yeah,
Like, I did what I needed to do.
yeah,
So, Matt's created a very compelling villain, and I get a little annoyed at Bell's Hells because they don't seem to, I'm gonna say not engage, but they're kind of like, we hate you. You're the
yeah,
bad guy. And I think it'd be a little interesting if there was a little annoyed's the wrong word, by the way. But if someone like, Breas was like, because we even had a comment from Travis of like, when Sam was joking about attacking Liliana, where Travis
yeah,
was like, the betrayal, we knew it was coming. Here it is. And I actually kind of wonder if there was like a hint of truth to that of like, could we see in this dialogue maybe Breas being like, we know Asmodeus wants him to free Predathos, so could Breas join Ludinus? And it's like everyone versus Ludinus and Sam, or I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I certainly think that's on the table. Like, I mean, I think that's the character Sam created, and we know that he's kind of had his secret correspondence with Asmodeus, who wants this to happen and has his own plans. So I think it really hinges on what Bell's Hells decide to do because they're still undecided, right? Like they may decide. I mean, obviously they're against Ludinus, but like hypothetically, let's say they defeat Ludinus, and then it's like, okay, well, do we want to let him out or not? If they decide no, then maybe Breas does step in. But if Bell's Hells makes that decision before Ludinus is down, then maybe he would help Ludinus. I don't know. But I definitely think that's on the table. I don't know if he'll do it, but I'd say it's
I'm
possible
just,
for sure.
I'm really curious to see how this combat goes anyway. I mean, since like episode 20, we have talked about the
Yeah.
power disparity,
Yeah.
and now it seems like we're finally going to get that combat. They've used like any D&D encounter, they've gotten here having used some resources,
Yep.
having burned through some health. Gaius in our Discord typically keeps track of
Such
the
a
stats.
legend.
Yeah,
Shout
for
out to
real.
guys.
But I don't think it's, let's see. Oh, I guess he doesn't type in this channel.
I keep forgetting it's Thursday.
I know. I keep thinking it's
I
Monday.
do, bro. I thought it was Tuesday all day. It's been a weird. I mean, I guess it's just the holidays that kind of toss you off. But yeah, the reason I said that is because it's weird to think we get to find out some stuff tonight. I'm excited.
Yeah, right.
Um,
I try it for some reason I can't do search by person, but so I just did Gaius, and it's literally it's like so many messages of people being like, Gaius, you're the goat. Gaius, we love you. So, I guess this will just be we're repping Gaius since I can't seem to find it. But anyway. But I would have loved to know though, the stats of everybody, but oh well.
yeah, I mean,
Maybe Omen Archive has it. Sometimes they have kind of this
mm,
weird.
but yeah, okay. Um, so yeah, plus, and I think this is something we maybe talked. Not that it matters, but I think this is something we maybe talked about in terms of what Ludinus was going to do, and if he harnessed a Ruidusborm, if he would gain the vessel potential, which does seem to be the case, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's interesting. And the fact that he thinks, or at least assumes, he's going to die also does not bode well for Imogen or Fern being the vessel, in my opinion. Now, maybe Ludinus, maybe there wasn't like actual canon behind those words in terms of like, yes, this statement is meant to imply that the vessel of Predathos will die, but and in fact, I definitely don't think that's what Matt intended. So maybe it's not fair to draw that parallel. But if he can't survive this thousands of year old wizard that's incredibly powerful, like what hope does Imogen or Fern have to survive as the vessel?
Right. Right.
So,
Totally.
yeah. And yeah, I do wonder how that, I guess yeah, I guess I'm just so curious how Matt is going to handle this. Cause like, obviously that force cage is coming down at some point. Will they just will there be Bell's Hells versus Ludinus, and that will be resolved before Predathos ever comes into question? Or like,
Right.
can Ludinus press the big red button and that
Right.
happens during the encounter? Because like, yeah, I wondered,
Right.
like, could they fight a Predathos infused Ludinus?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way. Like, they could not win that, I would imagine, but I don't know.
Only maybe if the gods intervened in some way, which I
Yeah,
could
that's a good
maybe see
point.
something like that. I really, you've heard my rant. I really hate the Deus Ex Machina. Wait, is that right? Deus.
I think so.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hate that. So, but we could see something like that though.
I
Not
mean,
full blown. They have the mask. So like
right.
kind of like pulling on, sort of like energies from the gods. I
Yeah.
could see something like that maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so just on Omen Archive, which this brought me to another thing to think about that I'm going to bring up in a second. But
Yeah.
everyone's taken about 30 to 40 points of damage, which at level, I think that's probably maybe like a fourth of their life. I can't remember how much health they have at this level. They're level 17, I think. Level 16, 15. I don't remember. Let's
I don't
actually
think
see.
they're 17, but I don't know.
They're 15. They're 15. And they have about 120, 130 health. So they've taken about,
Yeah.
like about a fourth
Yeah.
to a fifth of their life. So they're pretty sturdy. And then let's see, Imogen used the healing potion. That was like the 60 plus points of healing. Otherwise, they seem like they have a lot of spells left to use. All this to say, it seems like they're going to be going into that combat with quite a few things that they can still do. The
Yeah.
Dorian, I think, force gauge was probably his highest level spell at 7th level.
Yeah.
Let's see. By the way, what is Coriolis? It's because it's not a familiar, but
It's
I'm also like,
isn't it like summon steed or something like that?
that's what I thought too. But isn't that a paladin spell?
Yeah, I thought so. But maybe because as bard you can pick spells from other classes like with
Hmm.
with some
Okay.
secrets or something. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know that that's what he did, but maybe that's what he did.
Okay. I was gonna be like, did he multi-class and I missed it? Like, what? Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, level 15. He's okay. He's got one 8th level spell still,
Okay.
and a 6th level spell also. And then Laudna used her 6th level spell. Um.
Right.
So yeah. Okay. And he spent one of his 5th level spells too. Okay. All this to say that you know they're they got quite a few resources to use still.
Yeah. I wonder if there's any universe where it's tough because Bell's Hell still hasn't made their decision on what they want to do. But assuming they were like, let's release Predatos. If they were feeling that, I wonder if there's any universe where they ultimately like let Ludinus do it. Like if they do somehow understand that the person dies and they're like, well, we don't want Imogen or Fern to have to die. At this point, I don't really see this happening, but I just
Really,
wonder.
I thought of that too. I just don't see it happening because it's not a very punchy
Yeah.
ending.
Yeah.
Like I think Matt wants there to be, or at least I would as a DM, I would want there to be like a final fight of some kind.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. For sure.
so anyway, yeah, yeah, Rocco.
Yeah, Rocco. Huh. Yeah, I'm just so curious how this is going to go. Do you think, I
Yeah,
mean, where do you think they're leaning? Or do you think they even know?
I think I don't think they know. I don't think they know. I think that someone like Travis is really keen on like let's push the button or
Yeah.
I think Travis just loves whatever happens. So I think in that there's some party members who are like okay with there being a disagreement between the group. Um, I don't know, man. I think other people like probably Ashley Johnson probably hasn't thought much about it in the sense of like, what's like what does everyone want to do? I think every party member, I think Imogen or Laura Bailey was just focused on getting the mom, and so I don't know if she's thought much about it either. Um, well, I mean, by now it's already been recorded. They've all decided and done it, but I think a lot of these party members have like their immediate focuses, and I don't know how many of them are really thinking big picture about it. Except for
Yeah.
maybe Breas. I keep going back to Breas. I'm really interested to see what Breas does. So it's a very anti. Maybe it's not right to call them anti-heroes. I don't know if I'm using that right, but they very much. It's hard to know what they're gonna do because none of them are like your stereotypical like we got to do the right
Yeah.
thing kind of character.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Where are you leaning?
I feel like he's got to get out. But not really because like that's what I think the characters are going to do, but just I feel like that's I don't know, like it just it just feels like narratively that almost has to be what happens at this point. I feel like because it just not that it wouldn't be not that it would be unsatisfying. Because I'm sure
Yeah.
it could either way you could make it interesting, but I just feel like I don't know. So that
I feel like and I feel like our dialogue, we've had this conversation a million times, and it's also been happening on social media a million times. It feels like narratively, there's just such an easy setup of starting fresh
hmm
with campaign 4 or whatever comes next, that it just seems like Predathos is the outside of the campaign is like the easy button to push to explain like here's the new gods and
Yeah.
um which I haven't seen campaign 1 and 2, so I don't know how you feel about it, but I don't know if people would be like, "Oh, there's so much like lore and history with those gods, like it doesn't make sense for them to go away." I don't know. Um but
I don't feel that way personally. I think it's
okay.
just
Well, then
I think it
cool.
just makes it even more interesting. Like it deepens the lore, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. I guess that like in the scenario where Predathos isn't released, it doesn't feel dealt with.
And it doesn't make sense what you do with it.
Yeah,
Of
like
like,
it's like, well, we're good until the next lunatic
yeah.
tries to come down here. So it feels like the only way to like, I don't want to use the word satisfying because that implies that the other way you can't do it, which you know you could do it anything infinite number of ways, but it just feels like the more in order to truly deal with it, he has to be let go. I feel like,
I agree with you. I think you're right.
um,
For sure.
which you know we were just talking about how there's probably only a couple episodes left, and I do still feel that way. But if he is released, that does you know like what is Asmodeus about to do? Like what is going to be the fallout from that? Is that something we even touch on at all in campaign 3, or are these things that we like kind of just see how they've evolved once campaign 4 comes around? um
Yeah.
so I don't know, you know, back to the same old. I do think the campaign ends in 2 to 3 episodes, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a universe where we had like 10 more to kind of deal with
I'd
fallout.
be okay. I would be okay with that.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of a nice little surprise, I think, if there was something like that. But anyway,
I guess,
um,
yeah, never mind. Never
I
mind.
was just say it doesn't really feel like there's much else to say. Oh, I want to talk about also this. There's so much to say about it, but the seed. I'm glad. I'm
Mm.
just so glad the seed got planted.
Yeah, yeah,
Of all, we know the D&D hijinks at the table and all
yeah.
the plot threads that get forgotten. I am so glad this
Right.
one was not forgotten.
Me too. What
So
a yeah, what that also feels like a campaign 4, or like not maybe nothing that ever shows up on screen again, but like in terms of the lore, like, you know, in
yeah.
the next Exandrian guide, there's like a whole section on this like,
Can we
you
talk
know.
about how on brand this is for Bell's Hells of like no discussion or chatter on if this is a really bad idea or anything? It's just, okay, yeah, let's give the seed to this big mossy
Yeah.
entity, thousands of feet beneath the surface of the moon. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, they seem like they love each other. Here you go. I think about
Perfect.
that. I think about letting go of what was like the big mount from Vox Machina's fight where
Oh yeah.
Galen was like, "Get out of here."
Yeah.
It's like, "We're just gonna let that go, huh?" You
Yeah.
know? And then I'm giving Grazdichar to
Mm.
the pirate
The
dude.
pirate, yeah.
I just feel like they're very just like, "Yeah, all right, here you go." There's just no real, "Is this a bad idea?" No,
Yeah.
no, we're so
Yeah, so can't wait to see what happens there. If that the whole my seat and like mossy tendrily situation reminds me of the Ravening War
Yep.
that Matt did. So I wonder if there was any like cross inspiration between those, because I mean this might have even inspired Ravening War, because depending on how
Yeah.
long ago Matt like cooked up these ideas. And that one wasn't the most benevolent entity, so I don't know.
Yeah.
And I mean, this one's like a hybrid, right? So even if the my seat were chill, the all mimes burn might not be.
Right.
Um, so yeah, like I said, I don't necessarily expect anything to come of that, like and serve as a main plot point, especially not in this campaign. But I think it could be some really cool like world building that exists in
And
the campaign books or in a one shot or something.
why did they agree to do with that?
I don't remember. It was like a f- you know favor for favor situation, I think, but I can't remember
Yeah.
what they got out of it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Alright. Interesting.
I'm not sure.
Alright,
Um,
well, anything else you'd wanna talk about?
let me do the old patented note scan real quick. But,
You just
not really. I'm just excited to, we've been talking about this moment for years, and maybe not tonight, but could be tonight that they have to finally make this decision. So,
yep.
I'm excited to find out. Um,
Oh yeah. Well, while Will's looking through the old notes, if you're coming to the end of C3 and you're watching our video, join the Discord. Even if you're watching this, way into the future, join the Discord. We will always have our watch parties. We have one tonight. I think maybe we'll start our Friday stream back maybe next week when it's like a fresh week and go from there. And then I
yeah.
have a calendar of events that I need to put together and get on Discord somehow. Just upcoming stuff for people to do. But stay tuned for that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. And no, not really anything else I wanted to touch on, just that I did like the whole, I guess again, encounter's not the right word, but like the whole tunnel slide. That was a
Yeah.
fun. I,
Yeah.
I kept thinking, I don't know why, but the slides in Super Mario 64, like in the Hidden Palace, like
Yeah. I kept
I
thinking of the Goonies is what I was thinking of.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, which my wife has never seen that, by the way.
What? You
Yeah.
got to fix that, man.
Some things you just can't fix. So,
True, true.
all
But
right.
yeah, that's all I got. Again, Thursday is today for those of you watching this right when we put it out. So come join us tonight for the watch party. And yeah, again, game's done quick, starting this weekend. So for our fellow speedrunning nerds, come join us in the delights of that. But yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you guys.
Bye, y'all.